Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something you literally see everywhere in tech, AES 256. If you handle sensitive data, or honestly if you just care about your own digital privacy, you've probably seen those three letters and those numbers plastered all over the place as the ultimate gold standard seal of security. We kind of tend to think of AES 256 as this impenetrable magical suit of armor for our data. But here's the thing. A powerful suit of armor is completely useless if you don't have a secure fortress to store it in, or, if you wear it backward. So today we're definitely going to look at the armor, but more importantly, we're going to look at the fortress.
So right off the bat, let's ask the million-dollar question. Is AES 256 really the flawless, unhackable silver bullet that every software vendor claims it is? Well, the short answer is yes. Mathematically speaking, it's practically unhackable today. But, and this is a massive but, the real-world answer is just a bit more complicated, and we're going to unpack that exact yes, but narrative throughout our time together today.
Here's our roadmap to get there. First, the AES Encryption Standard, then AES 128 versus AES 256, surviving the quantum threat, choosing the right mode, three-state security coverage, and finally, building a complete fortress.
All right, Section 1, the AES Encryption Standard. Let's establish exactly what this technology is and where it actually came from.
Okay, let's kick this off by clearing up a huge industry misconception. People toss these terms around interchangeably, but AES 256 isn't just a raw algorithm. It's actually a very specific, strictly standardized configuration. It's derived from the broader Reindel algorithm, which is super versatile and supports all kinds of block and key lengths. But when we say AES 256, we mean the standard that strictly mandates a 128-bit block size and a 256-bit key length. Basically, if a system says it uses Reindel without specifying the details, you might actually run into compatibility issues because it's not locked into that standardized AES configuration.
So how does this actually work under the hood? Well, AES uses symmetric encryption. That just means the exact same key is used to lock and unlock the data. It chops your data into 128-bit blocks and violently scrambles them. What really makes it the industry standard is its lightweight computational footprint, combined with an absolute resistance to brute force and frequency analysis attacks. Because it's so efficient, it's literally everywhere. It secures Python databases, your HTTPS web traffic, your VPNs, and even highly specific setups like the electronic receipt systems at PT Veneta, preventing data theft and deterioration. Like I said, everywhere.
Moving on to Section 2, AES 128 versus AES 256. It's time to tackle the biggest debate in cryptography, deciding exactly how thick our digital armor actually needs to be. Mechanically, these two handle the math a bit differently. Don't get me wrong, both are incredibly secure. But AES 128 runs your data through 10 rounds of internal mathematical transformation. AES 256, it cranks it up to 14 rounds and uses a massively larger key space. Now, obviously, doing 14 rounds of complex math per block is going to require a few more CPU cycles than doing 10.
In theory, more CPU cycles means slower computers and drained batteries, right? Well, let's put some real numbers on that. If you look at a modern laptop running VeraCrypt, AES 128 moves at 3.4 gigabytes per second, while AES 256 moves at 2.7. In 7-zip, it's 320 megabytes versus 250 megabytes per second. So yes, AES 256 is roughly 20 to 22% slower. But for the everyday user, you're absolutely not going to notice it. Thanks to built-in AES acceleration on modern hardware, the actual hit to your speed and battery is practically marginal.
So, Section 3, surviving the quantum threat. If it's slower, why do organizations willingly take that performance hit? For that, we have to look to the future.
According to security experts like QuiSecure, quantum computers utilize something called Grover's algorithm. Now, in very simple terms, Grover's algorithm effectively cuts the strength of a symmetric encryption key in half by reducing the brute force attack time to its square root. So think about it. If quantum computers cut the key size in half, AES 128 suddenly acts like a 64-bit key, which is absolutely vulnerable today. But AES 256 cut that in half, and it still acts like a 128-bit key. It remains completely impractical to attack. That doubled key length, that is your quantum insurance policy.
But let's anchor this quantum threat in reality for just a second. 6,600. That's the number of logical, error-corrected qubits a quantum computer would need to significantly impact AES 256. To give you some context on where we are today, IBM's goal for 2023 was just over 1,100 qubits.
So unless an attacker has a time machine hiding in their basement, AES 256 gives you a massive, massive margin of safety for data that needs to stay secret for decades.
Now for Section 4, choosing the right mode. Like I mentioned earlier, having the strongest armor in the world is totally useless if you strap it on backwards.
Remember how AES cuts data into blocks? Well, the mode is simply how it handles those blocks in sequence. First up, we have AES CBC, or cipher block chaining. This is a super common legacy mode. It takes a block of data, mathematically combines it with the previous encrypted block, and moves down the chain. Sounds great, right? But here's the major flaw. CBC lacks built-in authentication. That means if a hacker intercepts your data and alters it, the system might not even realize it's been tampered with. This leaves you wide open to something called a padding oracle attack.
Because of that, the absolutely crucial move is choosing a modern mode like AES GCM, or Galois counter mode. This right here is the gold standard used in HTTPS, secure web communications, and modern file sharing. GCM doesn't just encrypt the data to keep it confidential, it adds a message authentication code, or MAC. This guarantees data integrity. It basically ensures that not a single byte of your data has been tampered with, all while maintaining insanely high processing speeds. When you're configuring AES, GCM is for sure the mode you want.
Section 5, 3-state security coverage. Let's rapidly zoom out from the math and look at holistic data protection, because what actually happens when that beautifully encrypted data leaves your hard drive?
This is where we need a holistic view, what's known as 3-state coverage. Data exists in 3 states. First, data at rest, just sitting on your hard drive, protected by AES 256 and secure hardware modules. Second, data in transit, moving across the internet. You absolutely must protect this with network protocols like TLS 1.2 or higher. And finally, data in use. To actually process data, your computer has to decrypt it in RAM. Attackers know this, so modern systems use hardware enclaves, like Intel SGX, to isolate and protect data, even while it's actively being processed in memory. Think about it. An attacker will simply bypass your amazing AES 256 storage if they can just intercept the files in transit or scrape them right out of your system's memory.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 6, building a complete fortress. We have to tie this brilliant algorithm back to the weakest link in any system, to human element.
Let's be real for a second and look at real-world vulnerabilities. In actual cybersecurity incidents, attackers almost never try to brute force AES math. Why on earth would they spend 1 trillion years trying to break the math when they can just walk through the open gates? They look for poorly managed keys stored in plaintext configuration files. They look for weak passwords like admin123 or password1. They look for systems missing multi-factor authentication. They look for companies that have lazily used the exact same encryption key for 5 years without rotating it.
So, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. The best algorithm in the world cannot save you from a weak password, a leaked key, or a vulnerability in your network transit. AES 256 is an incredible quantum-resistant suit of armor, but it is entirely up to you to build the comprehensive 3-state fortress around it. Are your encryption keys actually secure, or are you just relying on the AES name to feel safe? Take a hard look at your own holistic data security and make sure your fortress is every bit as strong as your armor. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.